Welcome back to the No Clue Podcast, episode 183. We are back. Finals have concluded. We have crowned a new champion. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Mike.
I'm Tyler. Welcome. Not really a new champion, I guess.
No, been here before for sure.
The big three are now 4-time champs. The big four, including Iguodala, I would say. Was Looney wasn't there for the first one, was he?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Yeah, because they had Zaza and Festus Ezeli.
I mean, knowing Looney had like the weird path, he could have been their G League guy already at that point.
Yeah, he might have been. I'll look that up later. Yeah. But yes, the Warriors are now the champions. Steph got his finals MVP.
Well deserved.
And the celebration was cool too. I wish they got to celebrate in Chase, but you know, it is what it is. I thought it was great seeing those guys. They looked really happy. They like you said, well deserved. They worked hard this season.
Yeah, man.
Big time.
It was a tough year for them. I mean, a lot of the adversity that all the teams faced, they went through their fair share of that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they did. And franchise-wise, the last decade, their share of adversity has just been crazy, you know?
Yeah.
A full year without Steph, 2 full years without Clay, you know, Draymond in and out, Iguodala gone, come back, you know, a lot of stuff. You have any, like, major comments about the Warriors? Anything else about the Warriors other than they're great?
Yeah, man. I mean, now at this point, the formula for them is there to keep going.
It is.
Like, that's the really scary thing. It's not like, you know, even Miami, when they were year 3 or 4 of LeBron and D Wade, you could tell that didn't have a lot of time left.
Mm-hmm.
When the Boston Big Three teamed up after a number of years, you could tell, you know, it's coming to an end.
Yeah.
With a lot of team ups, basically. I mean, these guys are 4th title in 8 years?
Yeah. And
they're not going anywhere.
Yeah, and you know, some of those teams you're talking about, there's always something, right? Whether it's financial, whether it's personalities. I think Boston's was mainly personalities that just could not match for that long.
Yeah.
I think part of Miami's was financial, because if they wanted to improve at all, they couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the Nets couldn't even get there with the big three that they had last season. So it is always something, and this doesn't look like there's any reason to stop. No. And the thing is, how their team is built, there's no addition that could hurt them. That's something that's really scary about the Warriors to me. It, like, nobody that they bring in, if there's a free agent, there's no one that they bring in that could possibly disrupt what's going on for them. To me.
Oh yeah, it goes beyond. I mean, they're so well set. It's beyond how they're built. It's how they play.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, you know, Wiggins being the obvious example, but you see the impact.
Yeah.
Everybody, Otto Porter did not have anywhere near this kind of impact anywhere else he played.
No, he didn't.
He's not even he's not good.
And he was still, you know, for the most part, interchangeable, I would think, as far as like a roster standpoint. But what he did, I mean, he got it done. And, you know, we mentioned last podcast, Wiggins and Porter would have to hit some open threes, and they did.
Not that much, though. It wasn't like they didn't get hot.
But they hit 0. They were hitting 0. If they hit any, it mattered in this game. You know, it was a big deal.
Yeah. Wiggins hit like once since we talked about it.
Right. I mean, and I think Porter hit 2 in the game, I think.
Yeah.
1 or 2.
Yeah.
And then Peyton was taking open shots. I mean, those guys keeping the defense honest. Because, I mean, they just stopped going out there for Porter. So him hitting one was a big deal. Wiggins, they started kind of clogging the paint for Wiggins. Hopefully he wasn't going to drive, trying not to let him get those turnarounds, and he was knocking down jump shots. Well, let's talk. We could talk a little bit about the game. So Boston started the game off very well. They looked good, looked energized. What was it, 14-2?
Yeah.
And then the Warriors went on the largest run in finals history, 21-0. It was
my first thought before we even really get into it, but my first thought when that run was going on was, how the hell did the Timberwolves allow this twice in one game? That to me was my first thought. I know it's kind of random
because it's so noticeable.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, and you could tell Boston when they eventually settled in, like nowhere near that kind of run was going to happen again.
Right.
I mean, that's, to allow 21, 24 straight, whatever it was.
Yeah.
That's just ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I that was one of my fears for Boston going into the series. I mentioned it. I want to say probably in the Miami series that they go on stretches of not scoring, long stretches. You can't do that against the Warriors.
Right.
Not for 7 games. I mean, you could beat the Warriors one night like that, but 21-0 is just tough.
And you know what was tough about this? In the other series, Boston going through that, it felt like they learned from it. They figured it out to some extent.
Towards the end, it did feel like that, yeah.
Especially late in the Miami series.
Yeah.
This entire finals, I feel like they never adjusted to their struggles.
Yeah, I agree.
Like they made defensive changes, but offensively, besides like throwing in a couple plays, they didn't really play any differently.
Right. Yeah.
See, it really showed in this one.
It did, and we're gonna get more into Boston in a little while, but real quick, back to Golden State. Let's finish the game, then we'll talk all about Boston. Steph was fantastic in this game. Steph and Wiggins. Clay did not have a Game 6 Clay game at all. No. Poole had, I want to say it was the second quarter was Poole's quarter, basically. I think he had like 12 in the quarter.
Yeah.
Something like that. They looked so complete in this game to me. Let me ask you this. Moving forward, do you think that the Warriors, what seed do you think the Warriors would be if they started the season off with Clay? Like next year, what seed do you think they would be?
I think they'd be 2.
2 seed?
Yeah, because they're still gonna have injury problems, and they play inconsistently because they showed they're the only team that has a switch.
Yeah,
like they're the only team that can play poorly, and they're gonna turn it around.
Right.
You don't know that with pretty much every other team.
Yeah, and I think one thing that Kerr does differently than most coaches is he uses the regular season really as like tryouts for the finals, because he'll play a lot of guys all throughout the season, and he's playing them to really see if they're worthy of playing in the finals. That's why we didn't see Kuminga, or Moody much in this. It just, not that they aren't, good NBA players, because they obviously are, but are they playoff ready? Nah, And I think most teams would have deemed Otto Porter not playoff ready if he had went to basically any other team.
For sure.
He wouldn't have got any minutes. Yet he's starting on the championship, or his championship team. When did you know the game was over? The run?
No, because Boston responds eventually. And it never really felt, this entire series, when Boston would be down after game 1, no like 5 to 12 point lead felt safe for Golden State.
Yeah.
And this was kind of the same thing for most of the half until the last like 2 minutes. The last 2 minutes coming into halftime, it was Warriors only getting good shots, Boston only getting bad shots.
Yeah.
And to me at that point, I'm like, unless somebody heats up for Boston, it's over.
Yeah.
And somebody did heat up, but it wasn't enough.
Might not have been the right person.
Well, yeah, we know that.
Right. For me, I won't say I knew it was over, but I knew if remember I texted you, I think maybe into the first quarter, I said the Warriors win this game by 15. And that wasn't just because of the run, but I knew that in this game, the Warriors weren't going to start turning the ball over. If there was going to be a run, Boston was really going to have to earn it in this game. I don't think the Warriors were going to lose this game by turnovers, just by how focused they looked to me. Even though they weren't shooting good in the beginning, as soon as the run started, they just, like you said, they just flipped a switch. And I could see that the focus was completely there. Boston's
everyone.
Yeah, and Boston's focus, they looked more desperate. And backs against the wall in the finals, you should be a little bit desperate, but you don't have to play desperate. And I think the Warriors, for lack of better words, took their heart at that point. Once the run, probably when it was like a 10-0 run, once they got back and made it even, or 15-14, whatever it was, that's when I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna get ugly.
And you know what I really realized going into half? I'm like, this is the third straight game where the Warriors are either turning it over occasionally or occasionally taking bad shots. Never both.
Right.
Never both. And that to me was, again, as the series progressed, was such a big difference.
Because a lot of times when they're turning it over, they're trying too hard to get good shots.
Yes.
And then if they don't turn the ball over, it's because they're just coming down taking, whatever shots like Boston likes to do. But Boston is a team that does do both a lot. Okay. So fourth quarter comes, game is starting to look out of reach. And like you mentioned, Al Horford looked fantastic in the second half. The whole second half, Al Horford was good.
Yeah.
But I believe it was the fourth that he really, really stepped up early in the fourth?
Really early, like right out the third quarter break.
Yeah, he looked great. And he looked like he was really feeling it. He kept looking at the score. Every time they showed him, he was looking up at the score like, yo, we're chipping away, we're coming back, we're about to take over. But no one else was really on that. No one else was really on that crusade with him.
No. And again, like Boston is so good. They managed to fight back, but the belief to win to me just wasn't there.
Yeah.
Like that's the first 4 games, no matter the score, the situation, Boston played like they're right there.
Yep.
Like you said, this game, it's like desperate. We're trying to like struggle, work our way back into the series.
Yeah.
It was tough, man.
Yeah, you could kind of see the one game at a time thinking got thrown out early in this game. Probably halfway into this game. Tell me about Draymond's performance. What'd you think? Spectacular? Good?
It was good. It was good. Self-awareness.
Yeah.
He showed leadership as the series went on. He showed maturity as the series went on.
Yeah.
And I love that he took, like, I made the point last time, like, he's not good. When he gets 4 points, 2 rebounds, and like 2 assists, That's not a, oh my God, Draymond was awful.
I agree.
Like, you really have to watch. Maybe he could have been, but you really have to watch to see what decisions he's making, how other people are playing, how they're defending.
Yeah.
And I love that he took all the podcast criticism on the nose.
Me too.
Didn't run from it. He wasn't making excuses for the fact that he was playing poorly. Nothing. He took accountability. He kept his confidence. And you saw it as, again, the series goes on, the technicals decrease, the talking with the refs decreases, the decision making was just spectacular.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a quick point about Draymond, you asked me like a good point for when I thought the game was over. Late into that 21-0 run, there was a sequence, or it might have been slightly after. There's a sequence where Boston comes down. They're a mess. The whole 24 seconds, they're a mess. It's just almost turnover. Eventually, I think Smart throws up an awful shot.
Yeah.
Warriors come down and are starting to go through the same thing. Messy guys are making like rough passes that are barely getting there. We don't know what we're doing. And Draymond is the one guy on the court who stops everything, settles it down, and makes them run a competent play.
Yeah.
That was the difference right there.
Yeah, it was.
Again, you're committing to taking your emotional leader, a guy who's turnover prone, is committed to settling everybody down to play the right way.
Yep.
I thought he was great.
Yeah, I thought he was too. I mean, and I like that no matter what happened throughout the rest of the series, this was a new game for him. He was taking open shots. That mid-range jump shot he hit, once he hit that, I'm like, it's definitely over now. Like, they're done. Celtics are done.
I thought when he bricked the one corner three and then made the other side corner three like 2 or 3 plays later, it's like, oh, Boston's in trouble now.
Yeah, they have to check Draymond out there. It's a wrap.
Man,
it's a wrap. But yeah, man, I mean, he knows how to play basketball. And you can tell he plays so much basketball, is so humble. His game is humble in a way where I never think that Draymond is doing something that he has no intentions of being negative for the team. Anything he does on offense, he's doing it because he really thinks it's going to help the team. And I know that sounds like, oh, every basketball player should think that they're doing something for the team, but it's not true.
Yeah, should is a lot different than seeing people who actually do that.
Right. And that's one thing that separates Draymond as a leader and as a, not point guard, but a floor general for this team. So
but his leadership, like intangibles, you could kind of see in the difference from how people perceive him, because I would say the majority of people think he's on like a borderline Hall of Fame track, maybe not quite, but he's a Hall of Fame like capable player.
Right.
And then on the flip side, most people think if he was on any of the other 29 teams, he wouldn't even be in the league. So you see that difference shows when he's on a great culture team, he's like, he's elite.
Yeah.
Versus, a lot of the other teams where you don't even see, you'll see his limitations a lot more often than anything else.
Exactly. And that's the thing where we've mentioned before, if you switch out Draymond for another really good power forward in this league, even if it's one who's versatile like a Marcus Morris, you may get more talent, but you're going to miss everything else that Draymond does.
Yeah.
Right. And we think oftentimes that talent equals Hall of Fame caliber. Like everyone in the Hall of Fame is the most talented players to ever play. And it's not necessarily the case. If you impact your team's winning, if you impact championships, and on both ends of the floor that way, Draymond is that for sure.
He's really, and it's not an ideal like side by side comparison, but he is the modern day Dennis Rodman.
He is, yeah.
It's a lot of that is because the game is different. You can't just have like a physically dominant player. You need more than that.
Yeah.
And you see it with Draymond. Like he has all the tools in his game. A lot of them are limited, but he's an all-around player.
Yeah, and no one can be now quite as limited as Rodman was at that position.
Yeah.
Because I mean, he
I would
could
say
get
any
rebounds,
position you can't be that limited.
Right. I would say maybe a center because he led the league in rebounds, but if you can't do literally anything else, you can play right now.
Not in the
and that's
playoffs.
No disrespect to right. And that's no disrespect to Rodman. Rodman is a great in his own right, but Draymond obviously isn't the rebounder, but literally everything else that Rodman brought to that team, you're absolutely right. The defense, the grit, the hustle, the
he's not as creepy with the antics.
Not as creepy, but
he is more annoying,
close.
I'd say. He's more annoying about
close.
it.
Yeah, the antics and the presence to the media, to the league, to the for the respect of the team. You think, oh, well, I'm not going to mess with Draymond, or I'm not going to mess with Rodman. That's the kind of thought process you're thinking going into this game. They're part of the scouting report either way. So no one says, oh, we're just going to overlook what Draymond does for them, just someone guard him. They have to think, oh, what pass is he going to make? Keep him, box him out. Who's he going to guard? All that stuff. So yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I want to shout out Gary Payton because he was huge in this series. And I think him getting hurt in the Memphis series was kind of underrated for how important he would be in the finals. And maybe the Warriors didn't even know how important he would be. They might not have, but he showed his importance of being a guard that willing to guard everybody, willing to use his fouls. He's probably the most athletic player on the team, outside of Wiggins physically. But as far as speed, strength, getting off the floor, I would say Peyton is right there with Wiggins. And he found his way into a lot of plays for them throughout the series. He was hitting threes. He was getting fouled, which is huge.
Yeah.
For Boston, a team who only plays 6 guys, getting a foul for any of them is big because just any
100%.
second that they're not on the floor helps.
And it goes back to just how great Golden State is, because Game 5 was the game he really had a lot. I think he had like 15 points or something.
Yeah. Big game.
And again, you see how limited of an offensive player he is. Like, he's not an elite ball handler. He does play like a Bruce Brown center kind of role offensively, but there's never a hesitation to pass him the ball when he's open.
Nope.
Never.
Because he's going to make a good play. He is.
That commitment is what sets, again, why Gary Payton was battling to survive in the league at one point and is now a quality role player.
Dude, imagine that your father is a Hall of Famer, league leader in steals, defensive player of the year, been to the finals, a legend in the league, top 75, and you can't get a tryout, a legit tryout where the team actually
did
wants
get tryouts. The problem is imagine again, let's talk about my Wizards for a second, because he played there before anybody knew who the fuck he was.
Did you guys draft him?
I don't remember if we drafted him, but he played for us pretty early on.
Yeah.
Dude, like, imagine I'm giving you a tryout, but you have no clue why you're going to make, like, what you're going to do on the team if you make it.
Right.
And it's in part of good coaching and good team organizations is seeing what a player could do and putting him in positions to do that.
Exactly.
The Warriors put him out as a defender. The Wizards used to put him out as like a combo guard.
And he just is
He
not
can't even.
that.
He's not a good ball handler. What is he doing playing a combo guard?
The Rockets did the same thing that you guys try to do, and when I say not a tryout, and that is partially what I mean, because a lot of what goes underrated for rookies, people think, oh, he's a rookie, he's really good, he's top flight, national player of the year, best player in college, whatever. If you don't go to a team that actually wants you, none of that matters. It doesn't matter. If the team doesn't actually, because a lot of these guys get tryouts on teams that just, it's like an elite camp almost. Like, yeah, we got 10 guys coming in. We're just going to look at them and just see what we can, see what we got. And he got a lot of those, but no team said, you know what, let's get him. Let's see what we can do with him, how we could use him. And that's, that's Golden State. And that's why Golden State has, I forgot, 7 players from the G League? 7
like half the roster.
Yeah.
Half the, like, that's a wake-up call to the league. Half the roster on our current champion team is from the G League.
It's a wake-up call that you guys are wasting a lot of people's careers in the G League that are capable NBA players.
It's really shout out to Adam Sandler. It's exposing how trash a lot of the scouting situations are.
Absolutely. And that, I mean, we've went down that rabbit hole before. That starts 100%. Really, really young, very young, and like we mentioned, I want to, like 4 podcasts ago, look at the best players in the league. They're from mid majors. The 4 of the top 5 best point guards in the league are from mid majors.
Yep.
So it's like, think about that as far as NBA, the combine and the scouting goes. Your best player may not come from Kentucky or UNC or Duke anymore, Syracuse.
Now you got to worry about the rest of the world. You might find a guy who's could be the best player in the league.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. I'm good on the Warriors. You good? Congrats.
Yeah, man. I'm happy for Steph. Well deserved. He was great. And him and Draymond are like the greatest combo leadership duo I've ever seen.
Yeah. And like Clay just be along for the ride, man.
Oh yeah.
Which is cool. Which is cool. Clay is the true definition of a bus rider, and he enjoys it. He's in the front seat of it, though.
He's making the bus ride fun, though. He's not just sitting there like with his headphones listening to music.
Right. Yeah. He's definitely keeping it fun for sure. Okay. Do we need to get into any Steph conversations, or we'll leave that for later?
Nah, we'll leave that because it's hard to compare him. It's hard to compare him to a lot of people, and I don't know, man. He's like his own. He's almost like his own category of great players.
He is. I think I'm not comparing these two players at all, but I think Iverson had a very similar situation as far as his greatness. Yeah. I'm not saying Iverson and Steph are anything alike. I'm just saying when Iverson was murdering half the league, it was hard to say where he was in greatness because, one, his team was terrible. He had no other good players on his team. Yeah, he could carry them, but you always wonder, well, if he had a better team, what could happen? And he was a 6'2" shooting guard, scoring on anybody, but no one has him in their top 10. Nobody.
No. It's really just the impact on the game is similar. It's different, but like how impactful they are is similar.
Right. He changed so much of basketball and in the culture of basketball. Absolutely. I mean, the game changed. The way guys handle the ball completely changed after Iverson.
Oh, yeah.
The way guys looked at NBA players completely changed. NBA players being on like every magazine cover, dressing however they wanted, tattoos all over, all that stuff started with Iverson. And it was just a weird culture shift. And I think since Iverson, Steph is the only person who's had that whole culture shift that they're equally difficult to rank in a top whatever.
Yeah.
Steph is
Iverson did it
better.
with handles. Yeah.
Yeah.
Iverson did it with handles and kind of style. Steph does it with shooting and leadership, I'd say.
Yeah. And how teams play and prepare. Because team there's no way to duplicate what Iverson did for your team. So no one ever played like that again. But obviously teams have to play like Steph, and you see other players in the league that are Steph-like, that are equally as successful in certain ways as Steph was coming into the league.
But they're missing a key ingredient, and it's like the unselfishness to such an extreme extent.
Yeah.
That's what sets Steph apart from everyone else to me.
And also, no team knows how to build around Steph. And the key, the Warriors just didn't. They just drafted and said, look, we're just going to figure out how to use these guys. I think a lot of other teams are trying to build around this guard like Steph. And that,
I mean, we've talked about the star power in the league and how it's just gotten out of hand. And I think a lot of that has to do with the star power.
Yeah, it does. Absolutely does. Okay, Celtics. The Celtics, the losers. All right, where do you want to start with them? Horford had a good game. No one else really had a great game to me.
You know, that I mentioned the play with Boston being a complete mess, and then Draymond on the flip side settling down.
Yeah,
that play right there settled our debate on. And I have to admit, you're right that Boston needs a point guard.
Well, you know, it's funny.
That one sequence in a nutshell decided that.
You know, it's funny. I actually might be on the other side now. Let's get into it. Why do you feel that way?
Again, I talk about this all the time, the commitment to taking good shots.
Mm-hmm.
All the good teams have a formula for it, plays, mismatches, but you have to have the presence of mind to go back to it.
Mm-hmm.
In Boston, just as the series was escaping their grasp, they never had that mentality.
No, they didn't.
These last 3 games, every game they come out with the same, like, Jalen wants to take over, Tatum wants to take over, Marcus wants to take over. Hell, Derek White is trying to take over. They never came out. Half of the series, since our last episode, not one time did they come out and say, you know what, we're going to move the ball the entire game.
Right.
We're going to run the sets that are getting us good shots the entire game.
Right.
No, every time we get lazy, we're going to settle for mismatches and nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
You need a point guard to acknowledge that this is not working.
Right.
But what's your point? Why are you flipping back?
Well, let me add to your point first. They also, their shot distribution is never consistent. Derek White may get 8 shots one game. He may only get 2 the next game. Jaylen Brown may get 30 one game. He may only get 19 the next game. Same thing. And it's not about being hot. It's just, we don't even get that many looks every night, which is something
I think a lot of that's the big issue for me with that is I think the defenses are dictating that a lot of the time.
Do you think so?
With Miami and Golden State, especially, maybe there's some recency bias. You know, I don't remember Brooklyn's like sequences as well, but just again, the defenses are like just matching up with them.
See, but look at other teams that don't necessarily have, other teams that have that same issue. That don't have that issue. I'm saying, like, Milwaukee doesn't have that issue, and I don't think Drew Holiday is much more of a point guard than Marcus Smart is. But everyone gets the same amount of looks every single night, whether it's Connaughton, Allen,
But
Middleton.
it's not a mystery why that is.
I know, but all I'm saying is the teams find ways to do that.
100%.
Whether it's Holiday, whether it's anyone on the team, but they find a way to do that, and Boston just doesn't do that. Which brings me to my point. I think they could make it work with Smart if Udoka truly just said, look, this is what we're going to do. I don't care if we win or lose on it at first. We have to try this and spread the ball, run these sets. Marcus, you're going to be our point guard. And if he really buckled down and did that, I think it's possible. But at this point in Smart's career, probably isn't going to happen. And at this point, if Udoka hasn't tried it already, I mean, this season was the time to try it, but if he thinks it's not necessary to make it to the finals, then I just don't think he's going to do it, which kind of scares me.
It's
but
weird.
I think it's capable for the coach to instill that without necessarily having a new point guard.
The reason I didn't commit to them having a point guard for so long is because, their run this season proves my point.
Yeah.
Like even with their flaws, similar to how Milwaukee was last year, they're capable.
Yeah.
They're capable. If they keep this roster, like you said, they could come back next year and still have Smart as like the point guard fill-in placeholder. When Brown and Tatum are playing the right way, they could kind of fool teams into thinking they don't need one.
Yeah.
And their defense is elite enough to overcome that against the teams with other flaws. Because a lot of their progression through the playoffs was their defense.
Yeah.
So they have like every other tool to overcome it.
Right.
And I still feel that way. While I think they need a point guard to beat Golden State,
yeah,
they could go through the East again next year with this same roster.
I think they could, but I think when they do play point guards, I think they'll have a harder time next year. Because think about it, they didn't play point guard the whole playoffs until the finals. Not really. Gabe Vincent was starting for
let's
most
talk
of the
about
Miami
the East.
series.
We got to talk about the East at that point because there's not a lot of point guards in the East.
No, it's not. And the ones who are, are never there.
Are not. Oh, okay.
Right.
Drew to me is not a point guard.
No.
Kyrie, the guy who's barely there, is not really a point guard.
Yeah.
And
Ben Simmons wasn't there either. And
Ben Simmons, to give him some credit, is point guard capable.
He is.
He plays like a real point guard, at least.
He does.
You got Lowry won't even get in shape.
Lowry missed half.
Right. Some of it was injury, but
yeah,
he was awful for most of the conference finals.
Right.
So yeah. you're not getting. If you had to worry about playing Luka in the first or second round,
right?
And Luka's terrorized them, by the way, throughout their regular season games.
Yeah,
but if you're playing Chris Paul, okay, you don't have that threat,
right? Or Ja, all they have is Trey, and they're so physically
imposing. Miami already showed that blueprint
on Trey. Yeah. So, yeah, I think with Brown and Tatum, they can score enough points to outscore everybody, but it would be so much harder than having a point guard. That's probably my final point on that. My final diagnosis for them. If they had a point guard, it would be a lot easier for them to make it. And even if the point guard didn't play all the time, he doesn't have to start. He doesn't have to have the ball all the time. But they just had someone who was an actual floor general, it would be smooth sailing through the East. But I think with this team, they're still going to have to go to game 7s to the East. Milwaukee probably beats them with Middleton next year. A full healthy Milwaukee probably beats them.
I agree with that.
A full healthy Miami It may go 7. It may go 5. Who knows? Miami's one of those teams. You never know.
But Boston is the same way. That's what I hate about them.
Yeah.
Because we just saw them go to the finals 2 games away from winning it. And next year, KD and Kyrie could send them home by themselves.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. And I'd be sick because they just shut them down.
And that's something that point guards definitely prevent for the
presence
most part.
of mind, self-awareness. I get it from Draymond Green, who learned to be a point guard in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
I don't get that from Smart.
No.
Outside of rare occasions.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm not completely flipped, but I do think Udoka could do better to make it work. But I do think if they can add something without subtracting, they definitely should get a point guard. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say
even
another
if he's old, it doesn't even matter. To me, it doesn't even matter if he's a new guy.
Yeah. George Hill would have worked, to be honest.
Yes. Yes.
No, I mean, somebody healthy, ideally. So maybe not.
That's
George
the
Hill,
cheapest, best. Yeah. Rubio would have worked. I mean, he's not
100%.
healthy either, but someone just like that. Yeah.
Speaking of, Cleveland might have a point guard that Boston would struggle with. Forgot to mention Garland.
Oh, yeah, that they would struggle playing against. Yes. Yeah. I gotta be honest, man. I'm still on team split them up. I am.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't want to talk about splitting them up.
I'm still on it, man. I'm not gonna.
Because now, now that they showed that they're obviously good enough,
they are.
Now there's no mystery that they're capable.
Yes, they are.
Now to me, it can't now be the decision. Oh, actually, we got to split this. If
it
anything,
depends what you're splitting it for. To me,
nothing tangible that I would trust to make that leap.
Hey,
unless we're talking real heavy hitter trades, which maybe we could once we get into some of the rumor stuff.
Real quick, would you trade Tatum for Dame straight up? Nothing else?
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about. Just straight up. Just Tatum for Dame.
I would.
We're going straight to the finals again. Easy. I'm
gonna be honest,
5 games all the way through.
I have nothing to say about Jaylen Brown. I have no problem with how he played at any point.
All right, let's get into it then. You have a problem with the other guy, Jason Tatum.
The other guy.
Let's go.
Just to be clear, there was about 5 players who had finals MVP potential to best player on the floor potential. Steph, who did it.
Mm-hmm.
Brown, who tried a lot.
Yeah. If Boston won, he would have gotten it.
Right.
To me.
Wiggins, who tried a lot.
Yeah.
I would even throw Smart in there, who tried a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
5th guy didn't try it. Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
Some would say was the best player coming into the series.
Yeah, some would say, yeah.
Some would say. I think I'm going to be honest with you. These last 3 games, he got exposed.
Exposed?
Exposed.
Okay. Tell me how. In what way first?
When weaknesses in your game are repeatedly showing, when guys are forcing you into things you're not comfortable, when guys start timing as a series goes on, guys start timing your shots better. They fight you for position better.
Yeah.
That tells me you're soft.
Okay.
That tells me you're soft. Wiggins attacked you the entire series. He was never concerned about not being able to stop you. 6 games.
On both ends. Yeah.
6
attacked
games.
You on both ends.
He essentially dominated you on both ends.
Yeah.
That's first reaction to why you look soft.
Mm-hmm.
Second, and I've had to watch a lot of AAU this summer for my coaching job. And I see a lot of good athletes who develop one move in transition and have no other like bag to their game.
Right.
And they just hit that same move because they're really athletic and it works. Jason, every transition is a Euro step.
Yeah.
I'm serious. I should have honestly went back and checked the footage of every basket and every drive he had. I'm serious. I think every time he attacked in transition, he tried a Euro step.
That's possible.
I mean,
that's all I can remember him trying.
In this last game alone, the one play, he comes straight at Draymond, Euro steps. Draymond is just, he doesn't do anything. He's just there.
Yeah.
Weak attempt. Short. He leaves it short.
Like under the rim, short.
3 plays later, he gets the same situation and he tries a weaker Euro step. This right left, by the way, not like you can mix it up, go different ways. Not like you have the Luka thing where you could keep it on the same side.
Yeah,
you just Euro and it's soft every time.
Soft. It is.
And the last point to me, which really exposes him as being soft. He only seeks contact with his arms.
Yeah, he does.
The whole series, he did not one time attempt to take contact with his chest. Didn't try to take a charge. Didn't try to like go through anybody. Didn't try to elevate over people around the basket.
Yeah.
I mean, again, you're playing like Harden at that point.
Brown and Tatum both disappointed me with their lack of athleticism that I know they have and not using it. Like, I don't understand why Tatum and Brown don't dunk on somebody every game. They're both 6'8". They both have great verticals, great hops.
Jaylen Brown,
I've seen them do it.
Just to put it in context, Jaylen Brown dunked on Giannis like 3 times in 1 year.
Yeah.
And he didn't dunk on a single Warriors player. 6 games, not a single poster.
And not one Warriors player is as tall or as physically imposing as
Not
Giannis.
even close.
Not even close. He got dunked on by Peyton in this last game.
Exactly. the physicality, and this is where it translated again as the series progressed. Tatum never played tough.
No, he didn't.
I got no problem, bro. Missed shot. Like, I've seen cold stretches for players. Obviously, almost every basketball player goes through one. Dude, I would have had no problem if you were just off the whole series.
Right.
I was so impressed in the other rounds with how he would like contribute in different ways. He defended at a high level. He distributed the ball at a high level. He rebounded
the first game
at a
of this
high level.
series. Even the first game of this series.
Bro, but again, this second half, we make a couple good passes and then we don't have a kick out for 2 quarters.
Right.
Like, how does that even happen?
And for him to be such an elite scorer, layups or threes, that's all you do. You know, you worked out with texted who is a mid-range assassin, mid-post assassin. Again, I've been saying this about Tatum for the last 3 years. He barely posts anyone up anymore at his size. I mean, for them to be comfortable putting Peyton on him and him not going straight to a mid-post like Wiggins was doing to him and like Wiggins was doing to everyone on their roster, it just doesn't make any sense to me. It's either threes or layups.
And you know what really showed that? Another thing that really showed that is he would attack Steph as much as he could, and the Warriors never freaked out about that.
Never. They weren't worried.
And in the one game, 2 or 3, he was just abusing him. And it didn't matter because they knew he wouldn't have that commitment to physicality.
Exactly.
And you saw it. Last game of the series, all we got is Euro steps. No spin, no fucking pull up, no nothing.
The other reason you knew that they weren't going to have the commitment to that is the rest of the team did nothing to foster it. There was no one there for the rebounds on those shots, on the post-up shots. Warriors got every rebound off every miss. No one like spread the floor out to the point where he had like an outlet just in case it didn't work. It was just like, yo, just take that. If you got it, you got it. If you don't, then we just won't do it again. It's fine. And that's not how you play as an elite scorer.
No,
just not.
In that game, that first game they lost when he got hot in the second quarter was really kind of a telling, like a preview of how this series would wrap up.
Yeah, it was.
Like I said, man, to me, he got exposed. You mentioned Milwaukee and the comparison of how they managed to get good shots while not having a real point guard.
Yeah.
Like that becomes so easy when your best player works really hard.
It does.
Bro, again, Jaylen Brown worked really hard, not just to take shots.
Right.
The only work ethic I saw from Tatum, especially these last 3 games, is I'm going to work hard to get a shot. And he didn't even do that consistently.
Right. And they weren't good ones.
Right. I mean, he exposed KD the same way he just got exposed.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost identical.
Yeah, they basically did the same thing. Yeah.
The same thing. Like, bro, you have to work hard. Like, you're in the finals.
Right.
You really thought it was going to be as easy as, oh, I'll set you a screen to get the mismatch and then I'll just eat all day?
Right. The thing is, they have so many guys, and in this series was what was strange to me for Boston. They had so many guys that I just did not think played to their strengths at all. You know, and I don't think it was necessarily the Warriors' defense. I thought there was times Horford could have had a little post hook where they just went with something else. He was spotting up all the time. You know, obviously, like I said, Tatum with the post ups. Brown could have had more cuts. Brown used to have that backdoor from the corner cut that was lethal.
I know.
For the last, like, his whole career. Never saw that. Not that Warriors weren't like playing defense on it, or I didn't think they were stopping it or preventing it. I didn't see them try it. I didn't see him try at all. You know, Smart took a lot of just tough shots, tough layups that really isn't his game. You know, getting into the paint and trying to get weird jump shots. This is not his game.
But my problem is all these guys like couldn't play well consistently because they didn't have a rhythm most of the time.
Right. No,
like,
you're right.
You shouldn't have to ask Smart to go get me 25, 8, and 8.
Right.
Like, if he's open or if the game happens to play out like that, great. But you're asking for Smart to contribute more. That's not his game. You're asking these guys to take over.
And that's
never been their game.
That's one of the things that really separates him from being a point guard, is that Smart felt the need to do that instead of saying, look, Tatum, let's go, bro.
You got to stop.
Yeah. Or let me do this and you do this. Yeah. Let me do this and you do that. Not, all right, Tatum's goofing off. I just got to go do this. That's not what point guards do most of the time.
Yeah.
Unless you're like unless the point guard is the best player on the team, that's a different thing. But, you know, so Boston's outlook, do you think they make changes, roster changes?
No.
None at all? I mean, obviously like a rookie or something like that, but you don't think they do any free agents? You don't think they need anything?
I think they do need another wing.
Okay.
You know what it is?
Obviously, other than point guard, we've already discussed that. But.
Again, their current construct just made it within 2 games of a championship. So obviously anything they need is it's just something, an addition that could help.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, you talked about this a while back about how it's really a top 8, top 9. It doesn't go beyond that.
Yeah.
And what happens is
it's 6 for me.
Yeah,
honestly.
I mean, 6. The Warriors made it look like it was just starters at one point. This
Yeah,
last game, like you said, Boston's bench was unplayable. I hadn't
they were.
seen that all year.
Grant Williams had no business being on the court
Bro,
this
and
entire
Grant
series.
Williams sent the defending champs home.
Mm-hmm.
Like, again, to put it into context, the just how different it could be, but
yeah,
it's just crazy to me, man. I don't know.
What kind of wing do you think they need? Give me a mock pickup, or
Like,
just you could just say what kind.
I'm trying to be fair. A wing that's not like that has an offensive game.
A wing that does have one.
Yeah, like it doesn't have to be crazy. He can make shots. He's a slasher that actually slashes. We don't just label him that because he just defends.
Like a Terrence Ross.
Absolutely. Anunoby, obviously, they couldn't get, but he would be great for them.
Yeah, he would be great. Yeah.
I'd say Finney Smith would be just phenomenal for them.
Okay.
And it's really, it could even be a more limited, like, I can't really think of anybody, but like a bench guy that doesn't really play a lot.
What was our guy's name? He used to be on Philly.
You talking about?
Yeah, I can't remember his name. The one we used to joke about all the time.
And no, James, no, Anderson, right?
Ennis,
Just. Oh, you talking about James Ennis?
Yeah,
that's a great pick right there. Perfect. Exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
but the reason for it is really, again, I'm not putting him out there because I need Ennis to contribute.
Right.
I just need to sit Tatum down, and Brown sometimes needs to sit down too.
Now this is a big point, and I meant to make this earlier. One thing that separates the Warriors from, to me, it separates the true contenders from all the other teams, like the Warriors. I think Boston can outscore anybody, but what makes the most elite rosters is having guys that can go in there and don't have to contribute at all.
Yep.
So to your point, Boston does need that. In this game, Peyton played, I mean, in this series, Peyton played amazing, but he didn't have to score a single point in the series. He didn't have to. I mean, it helped, but they just didn't need him to go out there and say, look, Peyton, we need you to score. All they said was, Peyton, go out there and play basketball.
Yep.
Otto Porter did not have to score a single point this entire series. I mean, only people who did was Wiggins, Clay, and Steph. Literally no one else had to. And that's a freedom that they have where they can just play and be able to interchange those guys and, you know, go out there and be threats or not be and play defense or not. All you have to do is play offense and defense. Whether you score or not, whether you get steals or not, means nothing.
Yeah.
It just helps. And Boston, everyone on Boston has to go out there and score and be able to score and like contribute to the score of the game. Everybody. If they don't, then they can't play. That's what happened with the Warriors. If Pritchard can't score, he can't play. If Derek White can't score in this game, he cannot play.
And he couldn't.
And Peyton, if he couldn't score, he was still going to get his 15 minutes on the court. Yeah. So I'm just saying, to your point, Boston needs some guys that can go out there and just do whatever they're doing without contributing on offense at all.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's a good idea, but none of that even works if Tatum and Brown don't have that mindset.
That's true too. Yeah.
And like, again, they showed the mindset for the majority of the playoffs. That's why it was so disappointing that these last several games is just hero shots and nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know, bro, Brown is on occasion one of the best two-way players in the league.
Yeah.
And we saw that for like a total of 6 quarters in this series.
I would say, yeah, that just about.
That's it.
Yeah. And a lot of them were the first quarter.
Right.
games.
A lot. It was like half of them were first quarter.
Yeah. And then never again in the game.
But you shouldn't have to depend on that just off of him making or missing shots.
Right.
Like you said.
And that's the thing.
Whether they're stopping cuts or not, he should be cutting anyway.
You know, one difference with Boston and Golden State also, when we're watching Golden State, we, like you and I and even the media people, they say, Golden State is playing really well. Rarely do we say Golden State is just shooting well. Like, oh, Golden State is just shooting well tonight. No, we say they're playing great tonight.
Yep.
But Boston, it's always, Boston is shooting fantastic tonight. They're never playing. I mean, sometimes they are playing great, but that's not what we're thinking when we're watching them, because they can shoot well without playing well. They can shoot well and do literally nothing else good on offense. Just like, he's hitting these crazy shots. Or, Grant Williams just hit 5 threes. But does that mean that the team is playing well? Not necessarily.
No.
So, I agree with you, though. I think they do need a forward size guy. I think Finney Smith would be amazing, because they need someone that can actually fill in a role that Tatum and Brown play.
Yes.
Without having to put up 20, but can still defend that.
That's what I'm looking at the series, and I'm like, wow, Tatum is playing awful, but you really can't take him out for anybody.
Right. It would be cool if they could play with neither of them on the floor sometimes.
Just for a couple. Obviously, it's not going to be a long stretch, but I think Tatum and Brown would have played so much better if they got to sit down, not just for a rest break, but like, you're not playing well. Look at what's going on. We got to do this a little bit differently.
Warriors could play with their whole starting 5 on the bench and still compete with Boston. They did multiple times. Or at least
Steph literally came off the bench to start the playoffs.
Right. At least 3 out of 5 they could play and compete with Boston. Oh, yeah. And that's not good. But you can't have a team like that. Not if you can't do the other thing. I
don't want to hate. I don't want to hate on Boston in that way, because it's more a statement on how good the Warriors are.
It is, but there's teams Boston play, like Miami can sit 3 of their starters and still compete with Boston. And they did. They had better quarters sometimes.
Is there another team?
Starters.
Is there another roster that could do that? Miami and Golden State are 2. They're really elite rosters.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So I don't know if the other rosters around the league are as complete as those 2.
Memphis, Phoenix, those teams.
Memphis without 3 starters could come out.
But we're talking about Boston because they're in the top 10% of the league.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not going to compare them to, like the Knicks doing that. The Knicks suck. I'm only going to compare them to the teams that's up there, because they're going to beat the Knicks blindfolded. And all the other teams.
Wizards too. Wizards getting them out of there 100%.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else on the Celtics?
Nah, thinking about what you're saying, like what would be tough for them next year is injuries. And
yes,
they got blessed to go through a playoff run. They had some issues, but nothing crazy to where guys would have been out. Like if they lost Smart at a certain point from the ankle and knee, whatever it was.
Yeah.
The Warriors would have dismantled them if they even got that far.
Yeah. And Robert Williams was the only one really injury stricken, and he's probably their most replaceable player. No offense to him, he's great, but he's the one guy they could play without, honestly, on the whole team, probably.
Not against, except for the Warriors.
Oh, yeah. But he wasn't hurt in the Warriors. I'm talking about when he was hurt, he was the one guy that we could put Horford there. We could put Tice there. We put Grant Williams at the 4. They had options. They have no options if any other starter gets hurt. 0.
That's what I'm looking at them, and I'm like, if Williams really was out, they'd had no rim protection.
Oh yeah, and against the Warriors,
just in general. I mean, if Horford is out, you don't have a high IQ big that could defend.
Right, that's true. Yeah,
like Tice tries, but the refs don't like him. So even if he does it well, it doesn't
anyway.
work. He also doesn't have high IQ.
Yeah.
But Horford, you need Horford, you need Smart. Obviously, you need Tatum and Brown. Maybe you could finesse a game without one of them, but you're not winning a series without one of them.
Yeah, you're not beating a team twice without one of them, in my opinion. Maybe once, but not twice.
Going back to my wing point, it's really just about having reliable depth. They don't have that.
Right.
They don't have it for, a second championship run, I'd say.
Right. Yeah. And now that teams have seen what they try to do with the bench, I rarely think benches get more effective. Most of the times benches get less effective unless they change. But the exact same bench over and over and over again doesn't like keep getting more elite. It's at least from what I've noticed in like the NBA for the last 5 years, I would say, probably since the Warriors been winning championships. That's one thing that teams are going to be ready for is the bench, if anything. So
I think Tatum and Brown are going to have a target on their back next year.
Yeah, they might, but they will because people will know there's nothing else to worry about.
Exactly.
And that's where the bench comes in. The thing is, they can have a target on their back and one of them can still get 30. But if we double them, you notice when the Warriors double Tatum, it was a turnover every time. Every time Tatum tried to put Steph on an island, it's funny that they threw up the stat that like, that the Boston was like some crazy percentage with Steph guarding them, like 2 for 13 or something really ridiculous. But they were doubled every time. Steph was the primary defender, wasn't one-on-one. Every time they got him on an island, Draymond came running over there, and Tatum would try to make a pass, and it was a turnover.
Yeah.
So doing that again, knowing if you make the pass and we give up a Derek White 3, I'm cool.
Boston, however they can, they need to remove anything that involves holding the ball. Like they could easily play like the Warriors. If Smart played like Steph, he would be, obviously he's not a great shooter like Steph, but his impact would be insane.
If he could pass and move and pass and move.
Cut and moved and set screens all the time and made the simple like play assists. Because Smart at times is a phenomenal passer.
Sometimes, yeah.
But when you leave him to just like, we trust you to be a phenomenal passer, that's when he gets you in trouble.
Right.
To me, Boston could play a lot more like Golden State than a lot of the other rosters.
I would agree. I just don't know if Tatum is capable of being an off-the-ball scorer or, a catch and shoot scorer for a full game. I haven't seen him do it for a full game, maybe in his entire career.
He's trying, man. He definitely had a game or two in the earlier rounds. The problem is just consistency. He had games where he'd hit a lot of threes off of somebody's kickouts or get like a drive or a couple of transition baskets off of somebody else. But then he's great at an awful game.
He's great at the transition trailing. Yeah. That's where a lot of his open threes come. It's transition, and he just waits back there a little bit.
Yeah.
Comes late, and he's wide open for a 3. But in a half-court set, it's so tough for him to just get the ball and just score. The 3 dribbles score. It's a lot of dribbles, and Brown, for some reason, they can't like figure out what spot Brown should start his ISO in. Starting his ISO at the top of the key is not good for the team. He's been trying to do that this whole playoffs, and I mean it works. He can score, but it sends the whole team out of whack. And if he misses, it's a layup because everyone is out of position to get back on defense.
Yeah, he was trying way too hard to snatch somebody the last 2 games.
He was, yeah, he was.
But it comes back to Tatum. Like, it's really Tatum. It's not Tatum and Brown, because I've seen enough from Brown that he's a bus rider. But like he's an elite bus rider. He's Paul George, he's Chris Middleton, he's these guys who at times you look at them and I'm like, whoa, is he one of the best players in the league? And I just didn't notice.
Mm-hmm.
Jaylen Brown is just as capable as those guys.
He's good enough that if he was in the perfect culture, he could be a bus driver as well.
100%.
Like Kawhi.
100%.
Just like Kawhi. If he was on a team, culture perfect, roster is complete, he could drive the bus easily. But
and
you know,
he just comes into games and he works hard. I don't see that from Tatum.
Yeah.
I just don't. It's just lazy.
Right. It's almost like Brown could get the weight of scoring lifted off of him a little bit more. And Tatum is like, either we need him to score more or just like the in-between thing, like, yo, I'm going to be off the ball, but I'm also like, if I need to, I'm just going to score all the time. Like for me, it seems like their culture needs to pick one with Tatum, one or the other. Is he going to average 25 shots a night, or is he going to play off ball and we're going to spread the floor? One or the other. We can't do both, though.
Yeah. And
we
Tatum
can't come in every game trying to do something different.
Yeah. And Tatum, like, he does what Melo used to do a lot of the time.
What's that?
Melo was such an elite scorer that he would he would try to play off ball, but then when he'd get it dies.
Yeah.
That's and you don't know. And I think being such an elite player, it's hard to notice that, because you're like, well, I got the mismatch, like I'm getting a good shot to me. And Tatum fell back into that bad habit of like, well, Steph is on me, so why would I need to move the ball?
Right.
You still like, again, you're killing the rhythm just holding the ball, and you don't need to.
Mm-hmm.
Kawhi used to do the same, bro. When Kawhi would make quick buckets, the Clippers would look as complete as it gets.
Unstoppable. If Kawhi is taking quick shots, he's unstoppable.
Just like when Tatum is playing off of the Smart and Brown kickouts, Boston looks as good as anybody in the league.
Yeah.
But the commitment has to be more consistent. We can't have 30 points off kickouts and then 12 points off ISOs the next game. Like, we just can't play like that.
And that's a conversation. I mean, I know Udoka's not experienced as a head coach and as a primary decision maker. And that, I mean, no knock on him. He did a fantastic job this season. But that's a conversation he and Tatum need to have. If he feels that the way that you and I do, him and Tatum just need to have that conversation. And, they just got to make the change. They do.
I would, in my perfect world, like you said, Udoka's just a first year guy. I don't know if he has the cachet to kind of do that. To me, somebody who obviously does and did earlier is Smart. To me, Smart, Brown, and Tatum have been there for their last, all the conference finals runs. The obviously this year
they're probably going to be homegrown guys.
Right. They're probably going to be there for a long time.
Yeah.
And they've been at the core. How many years have we talked about them struggling to figure out the shot distribution?
Ever since Tatum came into the league. Tatum's the youngest, right? I think Brown was a year before Tatum. Yeah. Yes. Ever since he came into the league.
And I think Smart is a big culprit to it. So he's like involved in it. Yeah. But the three of them, again, in my perfect world, they'd have a conversation watching the playoffs, which I'm hoping they do, watch the film on it, obviously watching the finals, and see the problem.
But I agree with you, but Udoka has to have the last say because they're not going to draw up the plays, Yeah. And if he can't draw up a play for what they want to work, then it's not going to work. It's going to be them just trying to figure out playing pickup. And also we got to realize too, this is the first time Smart is the primary decision maker of the team. There's always been another point guard.
That is true.
Till, this season. So.
And there's something to be said that, all these other point guards that didn't work in first year with Smart being the default full-time point guard, they go to the finals.
Yeah.
And again, it's not because, well, yeah, that's a big deal, but it's not because Smart was like showed us some skill he never had.
Right.
If you recall the team's midseason turnaround, they started defending.
Yeah.
Smart wins Defensive Player of the Year. They carry the defense all the way to a finals run.
Yep.
The tools are there. The tools are there. You just have to commit to distributing the shots. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if it's not as smooth as kind of we're hoping it would be, distributing the shots, I think at minimum takes this series to 7.
I like the comparisons to OKC that a lot of people are making. I'm not saying that they are they're the same thing, but I like the comparison because we see very similar issues between those two teams. And I think that was something, obviously not the personality issues that OKC had, that they're still dealing with the personality issues they had, and they're not even on the same team. But the shot distribution, the not sure who to step up when, those situations we're seeing very similar. We're seeing also the rest of the roster is very, looks kind of the same. The bigs, one big is out taking jump shots. The other big is just kind of out there blocking shots, getting rebounds, similar structure. But, I don't want to say that they're going to collapse personality wise like OKC did.
No, we would have seen some hint to that, I think, by this point.
Well,
but again,
remember earlier this season,
but they responded to that.
They did. Yeah, they did. I told you when we started. I told you when the media started saying, "Are they going to split up at the trade deadline?" All of a sudden, there was no more issues.
Locked in.
As soon as they said, "Yo, they about to trade me," yeah. As soon as one guy was like, "Yo, I'm about to get traded," nah, let's figure this out. Let's do this.
So, they definitely had a conversation. I don't want to hear anybody try to tell me otherwise. They for sure had a conversation about it. Flip the switch.
Exactly. People are acting like, yo, Udoka just came in and started a new culture. I'm like, they were still talking about split them up until January, till December.
And to your comparison point, I'd even make the case that in this situation, it's a lot more of the players than it was with OKC. Because with OKC, Scott Brooks was inept.
Yeah.
100% inept. They really, that final series against Miami, it was like a varsity and JV team by the end.
Yeah, it was.
And with this series, again, you saw Boston's potential, even though they never fixed a turnover problem.
Right.
They might never fix that, but they were still right there.
Yeah.
So they're close, man. I hate it. They're really close.
They have to fix the turnover problem, though, because there's going to be teams that are going to count on that now. I mean, dude, the records that Jason Tatum broke in the finals, he
100 playoff turnovers.
He broke that record, and he broke the record for the worst 2-point field goal percentage ever. That's disgusting, man.
That right there, that is soft.
If you're gonna do that, then you have to make a change. Have to, because if you don't turn the ball over so much, maybe you have more chances to take better shots.
That's honestly, I'd love for you to go 12 of 34. I'd much rather see you trying to take over and just shoot poorly than second guess your own passes.
Yeah.
Which is the turnovers, they're so ugly. You could just feel how unsure the guy is to make the pass.
Yeah.
And the team, it's like the Russell Westbrook turnover. The team just dies inside. Nobody gets back because Wiggins got the clear run out. Like, there's no point.
Yeah. Most of Tatum's turnovers are like that. Most of Tatum's turnovers are assists. They're assists to the other team.
To the Warriors.
Yeah. I mean, think about Miami. Yeah. Jimmy Butler was hooking Jimmy Butler up. And
he
Tyler
was.
Hero.
And what was fooling us, we didn't see it as much because Brown was just gifting Oladipo like a series MVP at one point.
Yeah, for real.
Oh man.
Yep. And we also didn't notice it as much because we already considered Jimmy Butler an elite defender. So we were like, oh, Jimmy Butler getting steals. That's nothing new.
Yeah, he's done that against good offenses, bad offenses. You know, he's
turning the ball over to Wiggins and to Gary Payton is not acceptable.
No, not at all, bro. Not at all. When you're giving the best shot selection team in fucking basketball history even easier looks.
Yeah.
You're literally beating yourself.
Yeah.
Like, throw the fucking dude. Throw one of the cross-court passes into the 6th row. Bro, don't throw it low so somebody could just take it and take off.
Right.
It's high school basketball like issues there.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So, Warriors, congrats. Boston, maybe need to make some changes, maybe not, but they need to make some internal changes either way. So, where are we at now? Rest of the league?
Yeah.
The big trade?
I mean, I don't know how big it is, but it is the first like significant move, I'd say.
Let me get all the names because I don't want to forget who all was involved. Christian Wood was traded to the Dallas Mavericks for Boban, Trey Burke,
Sterling
Brown. Boban, Trey Burke, Sterling Brown, and the last one is Marquise Chris. And the number 26 pick, I think one future pick as well. The number 26 pick from this draft, coming draft.
That's a solid pick, but
it is, yeah. I mean, they already have the third pick.
It's crazy that they got rid of 4 guys that didn't touch the court the entire playoffs.
Yeah.
And Dallas, Dallas had depth problems to me all year.
Yeah.
Especially with Hardaway missing most of the year.
Right, with Hardaway missing. And I'm not sure if those guys couldn't have touched the court, but they just didn't. And which is pretty nice for you to say, like, pretty nice for you as a team to be able to say, look, we got a bunch of disposable guys. We're going to turn into one guy that may be a starter. That is a starter for us. So that's pretty good.
I think this is a great move for Dallas, to be honest. The more I think about it.
I like it for both teams.
Yeah, Houston, it fits their direction. So, you know, obviously that's a good thing as long as you're developing players, which you've been doing a good job of. Mm-hmm. But again, with Houston, they're a lottery team. They're still we're still figuring out who their guys are. So we don't really know.
I like it because we know that their core is going to be young. So I think it's good to have vets on the bench, even if they're not guys that are going to play a lot. I think just having a Trey Burke on the team, having a Boban on the team, those guys are good because their depth now were guys that maybe, G League two-way contract guys, which no offense to them. I mean, they were playing pretty well for some of this season. I mean, they weren't winning games, but they were playing well on the court. Yeah. But it's just nice to have guys that are seasoned, been around the league, that could help some young guys. And we know the core, their starting 5 is not going to change from this trade at all.
Yeah.
So back to Dallas. Christian Wood.
Like, with Dallas, they needed a dynamic player at a position they didn't have a dynamic player.
Right.
Because what you saw in the playoffs is it's very like we just focus on Luka, and the others will either win the series or lose the series.
Yeah.
And I think it shocked the league, to be honest, that Dallas's others could win 2 series.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying Luka was like, he obviously was a huge part of it, but as we talked about throughout the playoffs, their guys stepped up way more than most people thought.
Yeah.
To me, adding a dynamic player is perfect to that.
Yeah, I agree.
Because
should be, at least.
How many times did somebody pass the ball to Powell with a ton of space and Powell didn't know what to do with it?
Or couldn't do anything with it. Yeah.
Exactly. Powell was the only, he was probably the only limited offensive player that got a lot of touches.
Yeah.
Just off of the fact that he was open all the time, he was on the boards all the time. But you need, with an elite guard, with wings that could score at a high level, you need a big that could just ease the spacing.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times with Dallas, because they shot it so well, the drive and kick game was working, but it wasn't dynamic.
Right.
It wasn't dynamic. And I think Wood fits into that so perfectly.
Yeah, he's a pick and pop guy. You have to stay with him.
Yes. He fits any lineup they could throw out. He
does, yeah. Yeah. Definitely. I'd like to trade for Dallas. I'm not super confident in Christian Wood's obviously his health.
Yeah.
I think I weigh more than him. I mean, he doesn't have a lot of muscle mass on him.
No, he doesn't.
He's not overly athletic, but he's still probably like the second most athletic player on Dallas, which is going to be interesting. I think that helps them. Yeah, I'm interested. And defensively, I think he's someone that you could put on more people than you probably could a Kleber or a Powell. And Kleber played good defense, but I've seen Christian Wood be able to stay in front of, some small forwards, not like a LeBron or, Jaylen Brown, but Finney Smith, Christian Wood, I'm cool with putting Christian Wood on him.
And I'd probably be more on the same page as you, with a little more reservations about it if they lost a key piece.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they had to lose Finney Smith, I'd probably hate this trade, to be honest.
Yeah.
I honestly, like, Bullock isn't even a significant impact to me, and I wouldn't really be as happy if they lost him.
Right.
The fact that they add him to this current rotation.
Yeah.
Like if Wood gets hurt, which he probably will, Powell and Kleber are right back at it.
Yeah, you still have the same team.
So it's, again, there's really no downside to it as of this point. So I love it.
Yep. Okay. This is what Darvin Ham said just 2 days ago. I think the style of play we're going to have, all those guys, not only just Russ, but LeBron and AD, they're going to be able to share the load. And one thing I mentioned to Russ is the way I'm built, the success I've seen. One thing we always preached and will continue to preach to be our foundation of our teams is a defensive mindset, being able to defend at a high level. And I challenged him, and he accepted the challenge. That's a part of the word sacrifice we use, and being able to move him around in different spaces on the floor as we go back on the offensive end. Sometimes he's going to be off the ball slashing. Sometimes he's going to play in the dunker spot. Sometimes he's going to be initiating things. He may post up a little bit. He may be the screener in pick and rolls. Everybody needs to be involved with what we're doing on both sides of the ball.
You know what's hilarious? If I'm Rob Pelinka in the interview room, and he that's his sales pitch, because they reported that during the coaching search, that was the question.
Yeah.
So I believe that maybe he didn't say this exact thing, but he gave them some kind of idea of what he's telling us.
Yeah, but you're saying you believe he didn't say this in the interview? You mean?
No, I think he did say something alongside. And
okay, yeah.
If I was sitting in there, I'd tell him, "Yo, so clearly you didn't watch our film this year, so you could just get out."
Exactly,
bro. Everything he said, none of it is what Russell Westbrook is about. None of it.
I know.
Sacrifice. Yeah. Russell has not sacrificed one time. Not once. He played. He has. We've given him credit. He's played to maximize his other star player.
Yes,
but he couldn't even commit to that for the whole year.
Maximize guys who weren't good. He's played well to maximize the team.
But like, it's never at his expense.
No, it's not.
That's what sacrifice
especially
means,
his stats.
bro.
Especially his stats.
Sacrifice is giving something up to help somebody out.
Mm-hmm.
Russell or the team has never been that guy.
No, he hasn't.
Like, bro, since they came off that 2012 finals loss and Tony Parker lit him the fuck up opening night, including a buzzer beater winner.
Yeah.
Where
Tony was spinning all over him.
Where Russ ran to the other side of the fucking court thinking he was over there.
Mm-hmm.
Since then, he's been an awful defender. He's doubled down on that awful defensive performance ever since.
10 years?
10 fucking years. No IQ. No willingness to stay in front of somebody. He playground reaches around more than any other fucking player in the league.
Yeah.
And if I could find the stat, his percentage of successfully getting somebody with that is awful.
And people wonder why he gets. People think he gets so many fast breaks because he's like really fast. He does it because he's behind the offensive player most of the time already.
Exactly.
So he's already the first guy down court because he's there.
Exactly.
That's where the offensive guy left him.
Bro, playing off ball? That's where he lost me. Like, bro, there's obviously certain things Darvin Ham has to say that just are just logical.
Yeah.
But playing off ball, like, that's just blatant ignorance to say, yeah, I'll get him playing off the ball.
And the rest of what he said is stuff Westbrook has already been doing. Posting up, dunker spot. He does that already. And we've seen it, and it sucks.
He misses dunks.
Yeah.
And when he posts up, he hits the fucking side of the backboard and nothing else.
Exactly. We saw him do all the offensive stuff to me. We saw him try to do that last year, and it sucked. It was terrible.
I don't understand why he had to, like, give us the basketball explanation. One thing I loved about when Draymond Green, I forgot the game that it was really bad and fucking all the talk shows were just destroying him he had like 2 points.
It was 4, I think. Game 4.
4. Bro,
yeah, it was the last.
He said one. His reaction to why he didn't play well was, I just didn't get into a rhythm early enough.
Mm-hmm.
That's all, bro. That's all Darvin Ham could have said. Yo, a lot of times Russell, like, it's been discussed that his role wasn't really clear. Like, the objective is getting him in more rhythm.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like, whatever, maybe he has to come off the bench. Obviously, he wouldn't say that, but like, just throw out a couple of hypothetical scenarios and say, all for the objective for Russ to play with more rhythm.
Right.
But to say that he's going to do shit he's never fucking done, like, he's at least defended occasionally at a high level. Maybe before the 2012 year. He definitely did.
He'll give you a quarter of really good defense.
Right.
Like he's a quarter's worth.
Quarters, possessions, maybe even a half every now and then.
Yeah.
But to blatantly imply shit he's never done, he's never played off ball. Never. He's never played off ball at a high level. Not once.
No.
I didn't,
because he can't.
I didn't even see him playing off ball at UCLA. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And I want to say one thing about the Lakers. I feel like I've said this earlier this season, but we have to stop pretending like the Lakers like aren't a good team. Like they play terrible, but this team
By
is not like
choice.
this
No.
roster is not garbage.
No.
People act like, yo, the roster sucks. They need to get all these guys. They got a bunch of guys who can't play. They have a good roster. They have 3 Hall of Famers on the team.
3 top 75 players. I don't give a fuck about the rest of your roster.
They have 3 top 75 players, and everyone on their roster would go on another team and play right now. Like everyone is like a good piece for every team. They just chose to play what's the white kid's name?
Austin Reeves.
Austin Reeves. They chose to play Austin Reeves more than they needed to because he probably wouldn't play anywhere else. But the rest of the guys, Malik Monk would start on some teams like he did for them. Avery Bradley has been playing. Ariza has been. Every team has felt like Ariza was good enough to start on their team. Every single team he goes on, he starts for some reason. So it's not like they have a bunch of guys who aren't good. They're just not 100%. Playing good.
They're not. They don't want to put in the work, honestly.
Right. Haven't you noticed how the media and just overall this culture of like, yo, LeBron's team just isn't good? And it's just not true. The team is great. Just not playing well.
No, it's really just Russ and AD.
Right.
It's really like, LeBron didn't
Monk
guard.
had a good season.
LeBron didn't guard, but he also carried the scoring load. So you get a pass for that when you're doing that much work.
Yeah, of course.
AD and Russ didn't contribute that much. And on top of that, they were fucking lazy.
Yeah.
I mean, bro, AD was out all the time and he couldn't sprint back on defense.
Yeah.
I mean, Russ would get to play point guard and just do random shit.
Yeah.
Like, it's bizarre. Even the statement from Ham talking about like, we got to get runouts more off the defense or whatever. And like AD is included in that. Bro, you didn't just watch Anthony Davis for 40 games, wouldn't sprint one time.
Right.
But what, next year you're going to get him to sprint when he doesn't get a call. Darwin, you're going to get him to sprint back when he or LeBron or Russ doesn't get a call.
Right.
Hey, I won't ever disrespect anything about Darvin Ham's coaching if he gets 2 things. If he gets Russell Westbrook to play defense and Anthony Davis to sprint up and down the court, I don't care if they're abysmal in the playoffs. Coach of the year, automatically. Top 25 coach, automatically.
Yeah, he got a lot. He's got a lot of stuff to do this season, and I don't like this statement.
A lot of stuff.
Like I said, for the offensive stuff, I haven't seen, and I'm not hearing anything new for Westbrook. And just, I don't expect Westbrook to sacrifice. I don't care if that is the team. If he has a little thing that they slap every time they leave the locker room that says sacrifice, I don't expect Westbrook to sacrifice at all this season.
No, man. And you said they were interesting, but I don't think they're interesting anymore because of how they're going about fixing this past year.
I don't believe any of the stuff that comes out. I mean, I know he's saying this. I think he needed something to say, but if he really believes it's this easy, they're going to be worse than they were last season.
It's not really even the words or the things being said. It's the fact that their initial reaction to what they just saw for 82 games. And again, like if we're watching them, Jeannie Buss is watching every fucking game. Their reaction was, we have to build better around Russ.
Oh, I got you. Yeah.
That's going to be the problem. That's going to be the problem all year. Is it's going to take too fucking long to realize that Russ sucks. They realized it this year too late, but it was too late to do anything about it.
Yeah.
I mean, they got to like game 70, 60, and at that point, it's too late.
Right.
If they come out, bro, and he's a joke, if he's getting the fucking multiple minute turnover lowlights, and the disgusting shot lowlights, and he's not coming off the fucking bench, I'm not watching him. I'll give him 2 months. 2 fucking months.
I don't think Darvin has it in him to bench him either.
Then if he did, the wrong guy.
I wonder if
Kenny Atkinson would have benched his ass.
I wonder if there is a threshold for, like when it's going to be time to pull the bench trigger. If there's like, if 20 games and Westbrook isn't averaging this many, and we're don't have a better winning percentage than bench him, or is it 50 games, 40 games? I wonder if there's an amount of, a level to say, look, all right, that's it. Pull the plug.
That's sick to me, dude. We're talking about the fucking Lakers.
Yeah.
We're talking about one of like probably the most premier basketball franchise in NBA history. And we have to discuss that if they have the fucking balls to pull the plug on a guy who's playing like definitive trash.
Dude, the Lakers have, with the Steph Curry top 10 talk, the Lakers have like 7 out of the top 10, like a consensus top 10 list. They have 7 of them, like on everyone's top 10 list.
Dude,
like, that's ridiculous. And look what they're doing.
I just think Jeannie Buss is trash. I think their whole front office, there's no commitment. I guarantee, bro. I guarantee when shit goes wrong, they're like this. Like, it's you. It's your fault. It's his fault. It's LeBron's fault. It's Frank Vogel's fault.
Yeah.
What are you going to do next year? The same thing. Okay, good luck.
I think LeBron is like the worst person to add to a culture like that. Yes. Probably the absolute worst.
I can't think of anybody worse. Maybe KD, but like KD and Kawhi, you could make a case would be worse. But I'd make the argument that they're too smart to even do some dumb shit like that.
But KD and Kawhi, they trade more what they want, and LeBron trades like what he thinks will happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
LeBron uses too much thought in his trades. Like KD can lose happy. Like that's just who he is. Like, and so can Kawhi. Kawhi can, if he's doing what he wants to do.
Yeah.
I don't care if they win games. Kawhi doesn't care about anything.
Oh, Kawhi was totally fine when they fucking got exposed in the bubble.
Yeah, he was. It's whatever.
Yeah, and KD, we needed a point guard. Isn't that what he said? Something like that.
Yeah, something weird. Something that
okay, Kawhi.
Unnecessary. And they still haven't addressed. If it was a point guard, they still haven't come close to addressing that.
Yeah, they haven't even tried. Even Boston tried.
Right. And then KD, I mean, KD's half his team just decides not to play for the full season, and he don't care. He hasn't said anything. He acts like he's more supportive of that than he is of winning games.
KD looks like he was happy to be on social media for most of the playoffs, to be honest.
His social media presence on the playoffs was so toxic. Completely toxic.
Yeah. He's listening to Tory Lanez 24/7, I'm sure. My bad. That's off topic.
Give me real quick, last thing. Give me your top 3 destinations for Ayton. DeAndre Ayton. LaVine is signing back with Chicago, so the sign and trade thing, I don't think is happening. I guess it still could happen, but sounds like he's staying there, and sounds like the reports were just kind of a little over the top.
And I think they are a lot of times when guys enter free agency.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's just for financial purposes, to make the most. But top 3 places for Ayton. San Antonio is number 1.
San Antonio?
Yeah.
Okay.
With that limited roster, they just went to the playoffs.
Yeah.
You had a competent center to that. Murray's only getting better.
Murray's getting great.
I mean, you got the tools again. The quick turnaround is right there for the taking. You can't have 4 guys starting, only 4 capable starters on the court. You need 5.
They only had 3 this season to me.
Right. They really 2 or 3, to be honest.
Yeah, because Keldon, Murray, and I don't remember who, and obviously Podol, but I don't remember who the other starters were. It was,
I don't either.
After Derek White left. But
yeah,
okay.
Just
San
watched
Antonio
them in the play and don't remember.
Yeah. And I'm not sure how often they were healthy this season either. So I expect them to be better next season anyway. A little bit. But the West is going to be harder too. San Antonio, who else?
Portland.
Mm-hmm.
Portland is so obvious. Yeah, I feel like all my options are not going to happen, but the reason
San Antonio could happen. I like that.
Yeah, they should have the finances for it, but
yeah.
With Portland, so with Lillard missing most of the year, you kind of by default got what you wanted. You moved a McCollum, which was, I don't think anybody's mad at it. I still, even though McCollum is playing great, I'm still not mad at it.
Yeah, I agree.
But you've made it clear that you're not rebuilding, you're retooling around Lillard, and we're right back at it.
Mm-hmm.
This is exactly the move to make that a serious statement.
Gotcha. Okay.
Finally, maybe you even keep Nurkic somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Bring him off the bench, limit his minutes, whatever. I don't really care. Or use him as a trade piece. All good options to me.
Yeah.
But you putting out like a legitimate second option a year after you lost the one you had for a number of years.
Mm-hmm.
That to me, if maybe it doesn't even work, but that to me shows, Dame, we're trying.
Yeah.
Like, we're not just sitting here doing dumb shit every year, picking up whoever's available. We're trying to make it happen for real.
I like that too. Yeah.
That's all I want to see from them.
Yeah. Okay. And what's the last one?
Clippers.
The Clippers?
Yeah.
That would be crazy.
Just make it easy. Get the easy title. What you mean?
They would still need a point guard, though.
Nah, they're not. That's not the same as Boston.
It's not the same, but I'll say this. I think they have a better chance with a point guard and Zubac than they do with Ayton and no point guard. If the point guard is good, obviously, I'm not saying like just,
like a Brogdon. Let's say Brogdon and Zubac over just Ayton.
Yeah, for me personally, yeah. But I like it. I mean, Ayton there is crazy.
You're right. You're right.
Kawhi and PG just aren't like center guys. I don't think either one of them are like, yo, we have a good center.
But I think that's why Ayton would be so perfect.
Okay, tell me.
Because I don't know if his frustrations with Phoenix are that they're not maximizing his potential, or if it's just like a personal problem.
Yeah.
If it's maybe something more simple, like him maybe not touching the ball, which I wouldn't really expect that. But again, I just think he would fit right in on a roster that doesn't force the ball to him.
Okay.
He's a way better finisher than Zubac is, obviously.
Yeah.
And just thinking about him doing the same things as Zubac does, it's a match made in heaven.
Okay.
That to me, his impact again over Zubac's limitations. Similar to Boston, even if you're still missing a point guard, you have so many options to overcome it that if you lock in, you can.
Yeah. They have a lot of defensive options to overcome it too.
Oh man,
sure.
I need to see them healthy quick. I'm very excited about them.
Yeah, a lot of teams are picking them. I mean, a lot of people are picking them.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Obviously, we'll deep dive the picks, the way too early picks after the offseason stuff.
Yeah.
But this is obviously a good pick.
So you picked 3 West teams.
Yeah.
Well, I picked 3 East teams.
I like it.
You said one earlier. I think Charlotte would be amazing for him. Charlotte would be, I mean, the way he runs the floor with them, the way he can, he's a, mainly face up big, but he's not necessarily a shooter, but he can be away from the basket and approach the basket better than better than Nurkic. Like Nurkic can't take anyone from the free throw line. But Ayton, if you're not like a good defender, I'm comfortable Ayton taking someone that he's a little quicker than from the free throw line that spreads the floor for that team. And like I said, with them not really playing with the center most of the time, like if it's Plumlee, and then possibly not having Montrezl,
yeah,
I think Ayton fitting there and Plumlee being his backup would be perfect.
And he's just so efficient.
Said it, so you get it.
He's so efficient with everything he does.
Yeah.
That I wouldn't worry about like somebody for Charlotte being limited just to get him involved.
Right.
If anything, that'll help them be a little bit more consistent in a role, like you said.
Yeah. Second, the one that the one that looks like it might happen is Atlanta. And I like Capella. I do. I think Capella helps them defensively. I think Capella's, has very live legs for, the lob threat that Trey has. But for Ayton to be someone that can actually get 25 and 12, like Capella is like a, 10 and 9, 10 and 10 guy.
15
but a 25,
10.
Yeah, 15 max. I don't expect Capella ever have 20 points. But for someone to be another foul threat too, Capella doesn't make free throws, but Ayton does. Someone that you really, really have to put in your scouting report for, defensive purposes. Like, we need to stop Ayton with Trey. And if they somehow can keep Collins on top of that, I just think their front court, they may have the best front court in the East if they did get Ayton, between Collins and Ayton. I think it'll give Collins more of an opportunity to show his versatility, which he really doesn't get to with Capella. So that would be my second pick. And I gotta say, man, you might convince me with San Antonio. You might convince
They're
me
just too easy. Like because they're so limited. This could just unlock so many things for them. We could really see if some of their random role players that we don't really know about are actually good or not.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And again, this would make a move like since Kawhi and Duncan and Ginobili and Tony left, they haven't really had a direction.
They haven't.
They've just exceeded expectations a lot.
Yep.
But seeing them exceed expectations just further shows that, wow, this team is not good.
Yeah. And they haven't had any loyalty to the team or to the system, since Manu left. Manu was the last one. I mean, Tony left. Like, think about that. Tony left.
That is true. I always forget about that.
Since Duncan left, there hasn't been any loyalty to them anymore, other than Manu. And I think if Ayton is young, I think building a foundation of, look, we got Murray, we got Keldon Johnson, we got Ayton of home. Those two guys are homegrown, but Ayton isn't far. He probably doesn't even have to move from Phoenix. He'd be right there and just stay there for a while. I'm with you. I think they would be a really nice pickup for him. I'm not sure if he cares much about winning as much as he cares about, being important to the team. Not saying they wouldn't win, but they wouldn't win right away. Like, they wouldn't be contenders. But
I'll tell you what,
they'd
man.
be
If anything, I think
competitive.
Popovich handles that game 7 better than Monty did. And I
Oh,
just
for
mean,
sure.
like between how you handle Ayton not playing well.
Yeah. Yeah.
That to me was kind of the noticeable issue.
Yeah.
And Popovich, if Popovich will have a problem with him, it'll be
Mm-hmm.
clear cut. It'll be obvious. There won't be, some sneak dissing going on in post game press conferences. So
Yeah.
we'll really see what Ayton's made of too, which I really like.
Yeah. Yeah. My third one, my original third one was a super outside shot, and it actually wasn't the East, but it was Memphis. And I think if he went to Memphis, I think it may be a wrap. Honestly, Golden State would still be there, but it would be Memphis and Golden State in the Western Conference Finals instantly.
I mean, it practically was this year, almost.
Yeah, almost.
Probably would have been if the matchups lined up a little differently.
Yeah. But I think if Steven Adams is showing, they didn't even start him in the playoffs. They like going Jackson at the 5, and I think if they could stay big with Jackson at the 4, and him developing that jump shot, not having to play inside at all because they have someone who can score inside.
Yeah.
The Morant to Ayton lob, being able to post up and him being able to swing. He sees the floor pretty well. He's not like an elite passer, but he sees the floor. Him being able to catch it on one block and swing it to the other side with, the shooters that they have, how they play. I think he fits into how they play really well. So that would be the other one. But financially, I think that one's probably the least possible.
Memphis,
I think Memphis has a lot of guys to pay.
Yeah. And that's going to be the key is who they lose.
Because I don't think any of those guys are loyal to Memphis. No disrespect to Memphis, but it's not a place where it's like,
there's been some loyalty. Zach Randolph.
No. There's been some in the past. I'm saying this current team, though. I don't think these guys necessarily do.
Maybe not. But a lot of it is just because they're not significant enough.
Yeah.
Like if they paid Kyle Anderson a solid contract, he should be like, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because they've bought into him. A lot of teams would have given up. A lot of teams, he would have slid down in the rotation. He would have been out of the rotation. He would have been fucking scrapping for a spot. Memphis has consistently kept him in the rotation.
Yeah, they have.
Through the years. So I would expect him to show some loyalty if there's a chance for it.
Yeah, but
like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He's a regular role player.
But I was thinking along the lines of Jackson, Bane, and Brooks, like their core. Morant is good because he's kind of from that area anyway.
Bane is the only one that's like in his contract on a contract summer, right?
Yeah, he is.
I'm curious if they're gonna have to overpay to keep him.
Right.
And are they willing to? I wonder.
That's why I say it's curious because if they don't, Bane, even if they don't have to overpay, if they don't give him what he wants, I don't think Bane has an issue leaving there. I don't think
and Bane will fit on like 28 other rosters.
Exactly.
So most of their guys would, honestly.
Right. And that's the other reason why I don't think they have a reason to be loyal, because they have so many guys that could go do exactly what they do there somewhere else. Clark could leave there right now, and Clark would be anyone in the league's backup center or power forward or starting power forward. Some teams immediately.
I do think there's some loyalty to each other, though. I do think they like each other. I think
Yeah.
Just off of how they reacted to the Warriors series, they seem to want to, become great together. So hopefully the core, and it doesn't have to be a pay cut. I would like Memphis to just be like, you know what, maybe in a year or two, our rotation will be a little more limited, but we could keep all these guys.
Yeah. I would like to see Memphis work hard to keep all of them as well.
Yeah.
I think Ja really does rally them as a leader off the floor. Definitely. To the point where everyone likes Ja. They may not like Memphis, they may not like anyone else on the team, but they like Ja. So
I'd like to see Ja as the full-time leader, though. Not no Dylan Brooks, Ja Morant split. That shit that's not working for me.
It doesn't work at all. Yeah. The Jazz controversy is interesting as well.
Bro, what the fuck? Why did Snyder wait all this time to step down?
I don't know. He waited till all the other coaches were hired.
That's not weird. That thinking about that was really kind of made me get into the conspiracy bag. Because I'm sitting there, I'm like, he waited for a lot of the coaches to get hired.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like, to me, and again, obviously I have no clue. It's a complete guess. To me, it's like he waited to hear what the organization's plans were. And, it seems like the plan is building around Donovan. Gobert is expendable.
Yeah.
And it's almost like he had a problem with that and said, like, this ain't it for me. I'll just step back.
Well, see, the issue is with step downs, you can be forced to step down.
100%.
Right? You could say, look, we're going to fire you, or you can step down. That happens all the time. And Snyder was at the tenure where that's very easily done. And the way Donovan reacted to it tells me it was a forced step down. Because the way Donovan was like, yo, it's blindsided me.
Yeah.
I don't know what we're going to do as a team. What is the team going to do?
I forgot about
that. If Quin Snyder knew he was stepping down, he would have hit, Donovan, I got to do what's right for my family. I'm 60, I'm getting old, whatever the excuse was. So the way he reacted to it made it strange to me, sound very forced step downy. And to your point, I don't know why that was so late. It does sound like an exit meeting kind of thing.
Because the only thing we definitively found out was that they're eager to trade Gobert and they're not taking calls on Donovan.
Right.
That to me, and then all of a
Donovan
sudden
is demanding.
I mean, he could have easily, if you're forcing him to step down, not taking so long would have made it look natural.
Right.
The fact that it took so long,
weird.
It's just weird.
Yeah.
A lot of I wouldn't call it a controversy, but it's just odd that we're almost like in the dark to what they're going to be doing.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
It's strange. If it's a forced step down, also, it's strange that they haven't. I mean, just to add to that last point, it's strange that they haven't just come out and said Gobert's not going to be here next season. Like, the mystique behind, are they trading Gobert or not? Like, we don't know.
Yeah.
Like you said, he's expendable, but we don't know if he's on the block.
Right.
We just know that they may not need him. So I'd like to know for sure if he's on the block, and it's strange that we don't, to me.
I did read something that I believe it was Bleacher Report, that if like they're taking calls on him, but they're asking for a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me is one scenario where I am kind of excited and curious. If they're moving Gobert for like a 3 to 4 player package,
I love it.
I mean, I still got to hear what it is, but that's the direction I want to see them go.
Yeah, me too.
So
me too. That's what they need. They need the bench package, and they need another starting center, obviously.
Also, Frank Vogel was the easy pick. Just go ahead. Yeah. You don't got to interview 100 people when you're fucking interviewing randoms.
Vogel and Jackson are layups to me. Easy layups.
Layups. Wide open.
Yeah. Mark Jackson did interview with someone, because I remember in the past they weren't sure if Mark Jackson even wanted to coach, but now he's interviewing with people. Obviously he's interested in coaching. And then, Vogel is a good coach, man. I mean, he's done a great job everywhere he went. He's done well.
I think Vogel cleans up exactly what Quin Snyder couldn't.
Yeah, me too.
He just certain players needed to be limited more.
Yeah.
And I think Vogel is the guy for that.
Yeah, he is. I think so too. Yeah. Speaking of, I've heard Gobert to Atlanta. I've heard Gobert to Chicago. Have you heard any other ones than that? Those are the two that I heard.
No, I think that's it. I didn't really hear anything. I only heard Atlanta. I don't think I even heard Chicago. Maybe I did, but Gobert is totally different than Ayton to me. I'm not really excited where he goes.
Yeah.
I just hope it's not a team that I like. Straight up. I don't want to see him play for like the two finals teams we just saw. I never want him on any of those. The conference finals teams we saw, I don't want him on any of those.
Yeah.
Maybe like Brooklyn. Go to Brooklyn, hang out with KD and Kyrie. It'll be, and Ben Simmons. It'll be fun.
That would be a disaster. Too many guys that can't shoot free throws.
Him and Ben Simmons on the court at the same time.
We're hacking.
Would be comedy.
Dude, I'd put players out there just to foul out. I'll sign someone, say, look, man, you're an NBA player, but guess what? You're just fouling out every time we play Brooklyn.
What happened to the hack of somebody strategy, by the way?
They started the off the ball thing as 2 shots in the ball.
That's right. I forgot.
That's what they did.
It's a good rule.
And before the inbound, if you foul and it's not on the pass, you get the ball back. It's a shot and the ball back. So, yeah, they started that. That's what ruined it.
Because I was thinking the whole series, I'm like, I would just foul Draymond like 6 times in a row. See if he's really off or if he's just like not getting shots often.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I would like Gobert on Chicago, but I don't want him on Atlanta. Definitely not.
I'd take Vucevic's limitations over Gobert.
No, I wouldn't.
Yeah. And I didn't forget that game 1 against Milwaukee where he took way more jumpers than everybody else on the roster.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that.
Well, one reason why I don't want him there is because I don't want Vucevic in Utah. Vucevic is how you feel about Gobert is how I feel about
He's the offensive flip side to Gobert to me.
Yeah. And then Nurkic is like the happy combo of both of them.
Yeah, he's like,
I don't want him on either end.
He takes like some of the worst attributes of both.
He does, yeah.
And somehow has more confidence. I don't know how he got to that point.
I don't. Yeah. I like Ayton to Portland too, by the way. I didn't say much about it when you said it, but I like that too. Portland needs a lot.
Bro, any team that doesn't have, Embiid, Jokic, maybe not Brook Lopez, Ayton's the guy, bro. It's such an obvious. I mean, if Miami is Bam, you don't know to Miami, but
yeah, no, I know what you mean. You're right. Any team that doesn't have a all-star center,
or just a really impactful center, because like Robert Williams is not an all-star, but he has a major impact, so you don't really need Ayton.
Yeah.
But like Toronto, if the
option
is there, go make it happen.
I heard that that's possible.
You can't play a 6'8" guy against Embiid. Like, that's just not going to work.
Yeah. If you're in the East, you desperately need a big.
You need a big body that could fucking challenge people.
Yeah. Yep.
Ayton's the perfect guy for them.
Definitely. All right. Well, that's all we got. We'll be back next week, talk about pre-draft. Again, congrats to the Warriors. Great series. Great season. Great season overall. I really enjoyed this season.
I want to see Clay and Draymond parading.
Yeah.
It's been a minute.
Yeah. Poole is going to go crazy.
Oh, yeah, dude. Poole might catch
Poole
some kind of random ass
blast.
fine. Poole will find a way to catch like some inappropriate fine too. I could see that.
Yeah, he will. Probably. Somebody will. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Well, thanks for listening as always. Subscribe, follow us, share, hit us up. No Clue Podcast on Instagram. All that good stuff. And we'll see you guys next time.